Darcy. Both had Neil come in and speak to you now for a few years. What was it like when he stopped by this week to speak to both groups?
Yeah, this is number 10. So I've been through a few of them, and they get more inspirational every time you sit in one of these. And it's no secret that in 2021, when we were able to win it, Neil was all over our walls. A lot of his quotes, and he's still running with a few of them today. Can't get anywhere with selfish people. When all is said and done, when all is said is done, more is said than done. The mark of the man is not what he says, what he does. Did I get that right? I think I got it right.
Absolutely no.
Two great quotes that have been around us since year one when he first walked into the place. So, especially with the week that we've had, you can get in your own head and talk a lot. There's a lot of talk going on in our four walls at the moment about how we're going to fix what happened on the weekend. But in the end, it's what Neil says, it's action. So it really does speak true this week that that's what we've got to do.
Yeah, we had a similar experience with Neil and Beck coming down yesterday. I think, as Max said, it's been 10 years and you'd think the message would get old or get tired, but I think it speaks to the man that Neil is, and then also just how powerful the message is. He spoke a lot about choosing to be positive, even in any sort of situation. And I think the way he communicates that, it just really resonates with the group. And Beck spoke a lot about the power of community and what she's learned about community over the 10 years of the Big Freeze game. And I think that was a really powerful message for us as well. So it definitely strikes a chord with the playing group, and it's really is such an honour for us to be here alongside Melbourne and shining a spotlight on what is such an important cause, and on Neil as well, who's such a powerful figure in our game.
What's the emotional response when you run out there on Monday and just see a wall-to-wall blue beanies everywhere in the crowd, knowing that there's so many people behind the cause?
Yeah, Beck spoke a bit about that yesterday, and sort of about the symbolism of the blue beanies and how 10 years ago when Neil was diagnosed that this was a disease that largely was on sort of the margins of health research, and there wasn't a lot of knowledge out there. So she spoke about the sea of blue beanies at the football. Might seem like a simple gesture, but it communicates to all those people who are affected by this disease and all the families around them that there is a community out there, and that people are listening, and that there is awareness around the struggle, and there is hope as well for finding a cure. So I think that's a really important message, and when we get to run out there and lead our teams out there and see that, be the first players to see that, it's particularly special for us.
Max, I know you said it's all about actions, and it is, so I suppose it all points to the occasion, but you haven't been in this position for so long as a club, so what have you sought to do during the week to get some answers potentially and try to dig yourself out of this situation? You need a quote-unquote circuit breaker, or how do you address it as a group?
Well, your words are circuit breaker, but Neil kind of was that for us. It was quite lucky that this is the week, but to be able to see him on Tuesday puts a lot of things into perspective about how we're actually going in life and football. So that's one that certainly has helped. I think, it is a disappointing loss, and we've had 3 of them in the last sort of 6-7 weeks with Brisbane and West Coast. So they're games that if we dig down, look at our culture and our last 5 years, we don't think is us. But when you have 3 in 6 weeks, maybe it is. So it's some answers that we've faced, and they're pretty honest truths that you got to face. That we think we're one of the better defensive and contest teams, but in the last 6 weeks we're not. So the proof is right there in the pudding. If we want to get back to it, we've got to go out there and do it, which is exciting. That almost is a circuit breaker in itself. The fact that we have a look at the numbers and where we sit AFL-wide, and they're nowhere near numbers that we think we can do. So I think it's pretty cool that you'll have a pretty hungry Stephen May out there wanting to make sure the Pies don't score. You have a pretty hungry Christian Petracca and Clayton Oliver out there to make sure we win clearance. And you have a pretty hungry Bailey Fritsch, Cozzy Pickett to score some goals.
Is there an extra edge to this rivalry, Melbourne and Collingwood, given what's happened with the playing groups in the last 2 years?
I think there is a rivalry between the two teams purely from where we've been sitting the last 5 years. And we've been able to play on this day in my 15 years. The Queen's birthday, now King's birthday game, has always been a game that you look forward to. So there's always been that rivalry. I mean, Collingwood beat us in a qualifying final Last year, we were both in finals in 2018, which is 6 years ago. So there has been that long-standing rivalry. I know what you're trying to get at with some of the things that happened in the game last year, but you can't take that into this game. It's a purely new game. And there might be a little bit of revenge on the qualifying final because we got handed a beating by Collingwood. So that is a little bit of we want to make sure we get one back on them. But to take any personal battles out there certainly wouldn't be the case.
Darcy, I mean, Stephen May had some pretty strong comments at the Demons' best and fairest about how they should have smoked Collingwood. I mean, how did that comment go down among the players? Was that also set the scene?
Yeah, to be honest, we were pretty busy celebrating after September, so we didn't spend too much time on it. But no, as Max said, I think anytime you come up against a team that has premiership players in it, or a team like Melbourne who have shown over the last 4 or 5 years that they can execute in big games and win big games, they very much have the runs on the board in that regard. It was only a few years ago that they held up the cup, so there's definitely a natural respect that happens there, and I think every time we play against Melbourne, it certainly feels like you're coming up against a quality team, and the game is going to be on. And I think as Max said, our last game, that qualifying final, was as big a game as we've played in, and the Collingwood fans particularly love it, and I know that the Melbourne fans will turn out on Monday, given that close personal connection to Neil. So when you have that sort of atmosphere that the fans create and whip up for the game, it makes it pretty fun to run out there and chase the footy around.
Do you feel like Kruger deserves a big shot this week after a nice performance on the weekend?
Yeah, I think Kruger thinks that Kruger deserves a chance this week. He's been great. He's obviously had some injury concerns early in the season, and he's back out on the field over the last few weeks, and he really delivered on the weekend. We've obviously got some personnel out, some key forward and taller personnel in front of the ball as well, obviously. So there's definitely opportunities there, and that's something that we'll look at for sure, is bringing someone like him in.
Max, you spoke about the sort of ironing out the issues over the weekend, and Simon Goodwin spoke about the same stuff. Have you put it down to what those issues are with the culture? Is it the bickering amongst the players? Was there any of that on the weekend? Is it between systems that you guys are all trying to adjust, or what do you put it down to?
We just got smashed in all 3 formats of the game on the weekend. There's the inconsistencies we're trying to work out and why that's been like that since round 0. It purely is just when we're not the team we want to be. I've stood here a few times this year defending our culture, and I'll stand here again and defend our culture. I think it's where it needs to be off the field, but it's not quite there on currently. So it's something we're searching for. But yeah, to answer your question, lost 43 contests, lost 22 clearance, lost by 92 points, scored 40 points. That's all 3 formats completely smashed. So we're trying to work on that.
Darcy, the news that Jamie Elliott's got another 2 months on the sidelines, did that become a surprise to you and to you? How's it going?
Yeah, look, Jamie's obviously dealing with an injury concern at the moment and taking a bit of time to recover. So he's still in that sort of recovery phase. So his health is obviously paramount and comes first. And then, once he's done with that phase, he'll look to try and get back out there on the field and start returning. So we just wish him all the best. But his health is definitely is paramount right now.
Would you do a Zach Williams and go up front and kick some goals? Back to where you used to be?
Sure, why not? Little special on Big Freeze would be good.
Come rock.
No, we've got, you reckon?
Gonna rock.
Let's go, all right. Let's go head to head. First set of bounce.
Yes.
Sounds great. No, we'll see, mate. We've got plenty of options. Fortunately, we've obviously tried some guys in different roles across the field over the last few weeks, which always with a bit of change, there's, there are some issues, but equally by the same token, it's exciting as well for our fans to get a new look at the team and how it could look. So I'm sure we'll try something new on Monday.